What's going on,
Yo, what's
everybody?
going on, everybody?
All
What
right,
you got over
today's
there, yo?
show, huh?
What you got in your hand?
Tangerine milk snack, or
Alright.
Honduran milk snack.
Okay.
Today's show is gonna be about safety. We can't stress it enough, and it's one of the most important things when you're out there herping. Um, Safety to get you back home to your family. You know, your wife, kids, or whoever your significant other is. It keep you out of the hospital. Um, the most important thing about safety is just just being ready for things. Anything can happen, especially sometimes you're in the woods. You're in secluded areas. You gotta have a safe way out if need be. You can run into other wild animals that's not herps. You can run into a dog, a black bear. But you
Other
got
people.
people out there to keep you safe. That comes with
Yeah.
you. So, what you got to say, Q?
No, this is a good topic for real because like anything, I say anything outdoors related in general. Because like for example, me and you, we're big on hiking. You know what I mean? So even with hiking, it's pretty much kind of what herping is. You know, they go hand in hand with each other. Uh, Hiking basically with while you're looking for stuff. But it's always good when you're doing anything outdoors related to be prepared ahead of time and to have a lot of things ready for safety purposes. And as you said, it's not even just the elements. Sometimes, as you said, I mean, you got to think of other wildlife out there as well, which is it's great to see other wildlife. Sometimes it's not. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you got things that leeches and crap like that. You know, things you don't even think about.
Ticks,
But
leeches,
to,
ticks,
so
mosquitoes.
this is yeah, well, but this is a good thing to think about because although herping is fun, you know, I won't say it's not all fun and games. It is. It's supposed to be, but at the same time, you never know. Things do happen outdoors in general. Um,
Yeah,
Whether
I
they're
mean, with the fun and games,
carnivores or
it's a
not so
cost that comes with
carnivores.
it. Um,
Yeah,
you out there
yeah.
having fun. Sometimes you get complacent, and being complacent will get
Yeah,
you hurt out
yeah.
there sometimes. You know.
Oh, that's real. I'm trying to think. Trying to think if I could think of any examples that jump out in my head. Like recently.
Recently,
And I don't, not, but it's funny 'cause I don't even want to sound like full of ourselves, but it's kind of hard because we maybe we just like that, you know what I mean? Which I don't believe anyway. But it's like no, we don't really ever really meet too many obstacles as far as safety wise. But again, that could be a good thing. It could just be because we're very well prepared naturally, you know. But
mhm.
one of the things I could say I would say maybe to start out with that safety. I don't even think we realize it as being a safety thing, but it is. This even goes back to knowing like the rules and the laws in your area, because it could be things as far as safety, like let's say for example, we go to another state and we don't really, we're thinking for
Uh-huh.
us, we don't mean no harm to nothing. We're just out here to have fun, not to try to start no trouble, nothing we ain't supposed to do. But you don't know when you go on these different states. But this could be in your state as well. But I'll just say for us, because different states, it's different. We don't always think about these things. But you go places
Right.
and you stumble across places you're not supposed to be, and you don't know these laws in different states. You could get hurt. Whether it's just being honest, being you can get shot by somebody, you know. So all these things like that, I would say. Oh, I got one. Something that recently happened. I mean, I don't think this really count, but I will say, Lord, this is probably the biggest time I was actually scared, and it was a safe thing. In the last couple of years, I don't even know if you know this, but shoot, this if I'm perfectly honest, this might have been the most scared I've been ever. All the times
Oh,
we've
I
been
think I know what
herping.
you're about to say. Because I think you called me that day too.
No, no, no. We were together.
You were?
We were together. Yes.
What?
But
So
I'll say at the
what day
same
was
time,
this?
I'm about to tell you, but I will say at the same time, some of the things I'll say that comes in as far as being safety is, um, like most things, stay calm.
Uh-huh.
Um, Trust the people that surround you. That's one of the main things that we do. Trust the people that surround you, but stay calm. But
That's
okay, when we're down in Florida, when we're in Florida. we're on was it Loop Road? Where did we actually see the burn? Loop Road?
It was off the road, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
so when me,
got you.
yeah. I don't think you realize,
We
but
went down
it was actually
a plant corridor.
Listen, I was actually afraid. I was actually afraid. Like and everything happened so quick, but I was actually afraid. But so me, you, and Hollywood.
So
Hollywood is
that
one of the
moment.
guys that go out with people.
Uh-huh.
Right. So me, Chris, and the cameraman, we were in Florida road cruising, and there's the place where I can't even tell you what it looks like during the daytime. It was nighttime, but there's a place that's known for berms being. So it's a dirt road, and the whole right side, both sides are most on some of the parts, but mainly the whole right side is thick brush, trees, vines, whatever. So every I don't know, 10, 20, 30 yards or so, they're all different. There are these holes, and we're looking, and it's like, okay, these are probably definitely where the animals were thinking at first berms, probably going, because on my bad, on the other side of this trees, it's basically a tree line. On the other side, it's a waterway. So, this is probably where the berms go in and out, because we did end up seeing a very large berm, but it was dead, coming out of one of them. So that's what made us think, like, okay, that's probably where they're coming in and out of, which we're pretty sure they were. But also thinking these are probably where the gators come in and out also. So we get out, we go through them, and they're really low.
We didn't think that until after we got in.
Yeah, and I was gonna say after effect, yeah. So they're really low to the point you gotta you don't have to crawl, but you gotta crouch down, and go through and go. So we get to the other side, and it's just a small little bank, and it's kind of cool, So, but it's pitch black, so we're all shining our lights at the water. We hear. Now, we do know this. We're in Florida, so we're vigilant. We know that there's gators there, but being those pitch black, you got to be honest, you can't see them unless you shine your light on their eyes. You can see them that way, but you can't see a gator at nighttime in Florida in the Everglades unless you see their eyes. Now, we do hear things on the other side of the water, and that being on the other side, it's no more than 5 yards. It's a small little waterway, no more than 5 yards. So we hear things on the other side of the water that we're probably pretty sure are gators, but in the distance, it's not too much that can make that loud noise over there. But then we heard, I'm trying to remember, what did we hear at first? So honestly, I don't remember what we heard that let us know that one was coming our way.
We heard rustling. It was like a rustle type thing where you tell leaves and stuff were moving or branches were moving. And we kept going deeper, to the canal.
No, I heard that, but what was it that let us know that one was coming our way? One was coming our way fast. Maybe we saw it.
Oh, it was good because we heard a big. Well, no, we heard it and saw it, a big splash, and we turned all the eyes. And when we turned it, we seen the water basically parting. Basically, the water just rising up. And
that's what it was. So keep in mind, though, like I said, it's no more than 5 yards to the other side, and we do hear like kind of the walking, and then we heard the splash. I think that's what it was. You can kind of see the water coming our way. And I'll be honest, like I said, it's 3 of us there, and this was kind of one of those things. I even go as far as saying this, being completely honest. Like, if they were strangers, it would have been every man for himself type thing. I'm being perfectly honest. If y'all were strangers, it would have been every man for himself, and we all would have been pretty much pushing each other out the way. But one thing I'll say I respect, and we probably all had the same mindset. Hollywood went first. Nobody fought or pushed each other out the way or selfishly kind of put that I'm more important than anybody else to get out of that one little way. So me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of looking where everybody's at. We're pretty much all shoulder to shoulder also. But Hollywood was closer. Me and Chris are kind of next to each other. So I'll say this is what it was too. So I don't want y'all to think anything bad of him, but the other guy that was with us, it was his first time Herpin. He was a cameraman. And he was kind of making some sounds like to be funny and scary when we first went in there, and I kind of had to tell him, like, yo, like, you got to chill. I was serious. I'm like, you got to chill. I explained to him because you can't make these type of noises playing when we're out here like this, because that's not safe, and we're talking about safety, so that's true too. Like I'll be honest with people, to tell y'all too. If y'all in a place where something is dangerous, it's best not to make sounds playing, to try to spook each other out. I mean, like, and he wasn't spooking nobody else. I'll say that. I mean, I get this was his first time he was trying to be funny. I know the sounds of animals, whatever sound he was making wasn't no animal. I had to tell him, like,
he didn't know any better.
Because, right, he didn't know any better. But at the same time, It's like, if you're making these sounds, we can't listen to hear for the sounds. We have to hear to know if something's coming close. But he got it. Like, that was real quick. That's what made me think about it. So when it was time to go, that's what and you can kind of even hear the water coming. And like I said, everything happened so fast. So we heard it. We was like, yo, we got to go, leave. So he's kind of moving. He ain't moving with too much. It was urgency, but I don't think he realized, like, but this is
no enthusiasm at all.
Right. Because even to the fact that where we were literally, you would have to really see how it looks, but we were literally right there on the edge of the water. It really just could have just been a gator coming out and just snapping on a bank. He could have grabbed something. So he's going out, and I'm waiting, because I'm still waiting. I'm like, I just remember being like, Chris, go on, Chris. And I was like, I think I even said please or something second, third time, because I'm like, I'm not trying to push nobody, but I'm just like, I'm letting Hollywood go and then Chris go without us trampling each other. But I would say, that was the most scariest moment that I've ever had in general.
It was real intense.
Like I said, it happened so quick, but it was like, that was reality. And just really think to myself, like I said, that gator could have really just came just right up on the bank and just came and just snapping. And yeah, that was, but that's
when it comes down to it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, being bent down and like, it's probably like 4 feet high and about maybe 2 feet wide.
I don't even think it was that high. I don't think it was that high.
It may not be,
at the
but
most.
all I know was I'm kneeling down. We probably shouldn't have been back there anyway. So, but
don't you ever
one reason we didn't have our main boy with us back there, on that day.
Don't do that. If we outside, we outside. Ain't no never shouldn't be nowhere.
To talk sense to us,
No. He would have tried, but he wouldn't have. If we outside, we outside. Like, that's because the same time, think about it. If we want to have win, how much regret would we both had in the back of our minds not to go? We always gonna go, yo. We always gonna go.
Yes. Well, you want to bring our guests on now, or want to introduce him?
I mean, if he ready, the main man himself, Big Brother Ray from South 295.
So Ray, he hears with us.
Mr. Kaluba himself.
He coming on
I ain't finished many names. Mr. Kaluba himself. Mr. Don't y'all do that.
Yes, sir.
Listen, but if y'all do that, I'm gonna go home and report.
I'm just there to record everything to make sure it, like, I can take a account back to everybody's family. That everybody, hey, that's what they did. I told them not to do it. No, I'm playing though. What's up, y'all?
What's up, y'all? So one of the reasons we wanted to bring Ray on is because honestly, it's like Ray probably low key goes on most of our Herpin excursions with us, both locally and out of state. And one of the biggest things I feel like that's important, if you're really, really digging deep into getting into Herpin, is having a solid Herpin crew. Like, and that's real. Like,
I wouldn't call it. I would call it a team.
Well, yeah. But that's what it is. It is a team. I wouldn't even say crew, right? It's a team, because a team is something where you got to rely on everybody. Like, think of football.
Correct.
Everybody got their different jobs, and no job is more important than the other one. You can say a quarterback is the most important, but they get paid the most. People think all that, whatever. But a quarterback can't do a daggone thing without his line. He can't do nothing without a line. He can't do it. Right. You got to start with an offensive line. You can't do nothing without no line, yo. So everybody is equally important. But I'm gonna let Ray go ahead and talk about his significance in the group and give any input he want to put in about this whole safety thing.
Oh man,
tell us what you do, Ray.
Look, the flowers y'all giving, I really appreciate that. But before I even move forward, I gotta tell y'all know how I rock with y'all. I appreciate y'all giving us the platform to come up here and talk, and talk about our experiences because we had some experiences, So, so
Yes, sir.
moving
Yes, sir.
forward, so out the group, I'm the safety guy. I'm the person out, like I was talking earlier. I'm the risk assessment guy. So earlier when they would talk about before they brought me on, they would talk about, oh yeah, we ain't running across nothing. That's because my role in the group is to go to both of them individually and collectively and be like, hey, y'all really think this is a good idea? So I can think of one particular incident, last year when we in the great state of South Carolina and we were trying to, gain access to to another part of the island where we were at. And first off, Mr. Baltimore Snake Man, he runs across the log like a daggone squirrel. He's gone. I'm looking, yeah, all right. And then here comes Chris. He'll analyze it. But here go Chris. He go across. I'm like, yeah, all right. So I'm looking in the water. Water about 3 feet deep. I'm saying we're in Alligator Alley. They literally call this place Alligator Alley. I don't have any
Right.
glasses on, no polarizing glasses to be able to look in the water. And I didn't make it to be 49 years old by making crazy decisions. So I'm like, hold on, man. I can be there one, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So a couple people went across. I found the alternative route. Me and my dog Jay George, we found the alternative spot and we got across safely. Risk assessment. Them brothers be out there. So I gotta be the one that sometimes, like, hey, you really want to do that? But all in all, they not crash dummies. They do it, but they when people passionate about what they passionate about, if y'all had caught me 20 years ago, I'd have been doing the same thing y'all was doing. But these old bones ain't built for that.
But I can say though, if I'm honest, you do have a impact on us. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say when we out there.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you though. You have an impact on us to make me think sometimes a few things. But we still gonna do most of the
A lot of
things
times
in
out
a
there, we
way
be distracted.
anyway.
Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
Try to see what Jeremy said.
like I say, you gotta have somebody in your ear. That, like I tell y'all, I never want y'all to subdue your passions. Go for it. That's what you want to do. But if it's something that is questionable, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like having me crawl up the side of a rock cliff and looking down, like Chris, like, don't look down. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And so, but it's, we be getting it in, like I'm telling you, like dealing with y'all brothers, like when we go out in the woods, like I tell a lot of people, that's a lot of, for me, it's like, it's grounding, being out there in the woods and, around nature. Like I tell people all the time, first thing I do when I go out there is grab a pile of dead leaves and just take a big sniff, and it brings you back. It's like you releasing everything you've been holding on all through the week. I ain't gonna turn this into a council session because y'all know how I get when I get to talking. So we gonna continue to talk
No,
about
it definitely releases a lot of tension,
Yeah,
let me ask you
it
another
definitely
question.
does.
So I want everybody to give one thing. So I'll say no, two things, two different categories. So since we're talking about safety, I want each one of you to give me one item that you think is good or great to take with you when you're herping that will help in a case of emergency or just to keep you safe. And I also want you to, since we're also talking about, a team, I want you to say one thing team-wise that's good to have when you're out herping with the team.
You want to go,
Matter of
Chris?
fact, we'll start with you.
I'll go first. What I think is the most important thing. Right. One item. So first aid kit. First aid kit.
Okay.
Not necessarily getting hurt by an animal. You could trip, fall, scrape yourself. You can cut yourself open on thorns, branches. You can really hurt yourself. Say you slip and fall off a rock, you can cut your head open. First aid kit would be the first thing that you want to have. Most times when I'm hiking, I have a first aid kit with me, you know, especially hiking or herping. It's deep in the bag. It's somewhere to be found. Something I have when with a group, I would say radios, because you need to get in contact with each other, even if you're not in line of sight or you can't yell or hit the other person. So I would say first aid kit and then radios.
You know what, Chris?
Ray?
What about you, Ray?
That's why, you know, I have confidence in you because those are the same things that I was sitting here thinking about. A first aid kit and a radio to get back. But what's important also is rally points. You know, identify rally points on your route. You know, if you get displaced, you know, hey, look, if we get crossed up, you know, meet right here. You know, and it's good to have, you know, really like even taking it further from, you know, the technology part.
We do separate sometimes, especially with separate, because we do separate sometimes.
Yeah. Like one thing like we should start implementing is like setting GPS points. You know, when we out there, because you know that's something you know we should be you know really thinking about. But it's so much other stuff like first aid kits, knowing you know if your people's that with you got allergies, you know anything like that. Like first thing I tell y'all know what I say, man. I see some bees, I'm gone. You know, so you know, yeah, like knowing, like I know I don't play about them bees. You know,
we went through that last year, right?
You know,
we went through that last year.
You know, like Chris, yeah, look, Chris say, well, if you get ran down on some bees, a bee sting kit ain't gonna do nothing because there's gonna be about 20 of them stinging you. I was like, okay, Chris, thank you, but I'm still taking my bee sting kit. You know, so yeah, it's knowing, you know, it's knowing, you know, your people you with, like especially since it's like a lot of times it be us, you know, we gotta, you know, I know Q is gonna be the point. Q gonna be out front, you know, touching everything the unseen. You know, Chris is gonna bring up the middle, you know, analyzing everything as we go. And then I'm bringing up the rear, making sure nothing is missed. And then once we rally up, all us, you know, just tally up the information that we picked up. You know, that's how I feel like our Herpin team is like when we go out there. You know, and it reflects when we go out there and go hiking and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Gotta know your role. Well, to answer that question, Q, ego. You gotta check the ego at the door. You gotta check the ego at the door.
Oh, definitely.
You gotta check the ego.
I wouldn't even thought about that, but that's a good one, yo. And it's like I wouldn't have thought about that at all. But that goes two ways with me. I think I'll say. Ego and pride are real big when you herping in groups. And I'm gonna take this in the small, different part of the conversation right here. I've seen when this is in the reptile community in general. I don't see it too much when we go herping. I've seen it. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen it, but I don't see it that much when we go herping. But when you go in a group, it's gonna be people that's their first time. They don't know when it comes to certain things. And the same way you got these know-it-alls in the reptile groups, don't let that ego get to you now when you're out there herping. Like me, if somebody asks a question, I ain't gonna sit there and make them look dumb for asking a question. If I don't care if I, for example, if I find a black rat snake and somebody say, well, how you know that's what that is? Or you sure that's not a rattlesnake because I saw the tail rattling. I ain't gonna laugh at them, I ain't gonna giggle, I ain't gonna make them feel dumb. Because I get it. This is the teacher moment.
Exactly. And like this is the thing.
We lost Ray for a second. We lost Ray, but I was stand on what I was saying. It gets back. Yeah, we lost for a second. But even with that, also I'll say the opposite side with the ego. I I'll
Well,
use myself
with the
for
ego, I
example.
mean,
I don't think.
okay.
I'll say I'll use myself for example. I don't think I do this, but if I do, I have no really problem being checked. Like I'm a daredevil in a sense. I don't really think I am, but there's a lot that I'll do that I think the next person probably won't do. So if I'm gonna do something, and if I got my
Nope.
mindset on something, and it's dangerous, first of all, I will say this. In my mind, I probably already kind of know it's dangerous, but I can't let my ego or nobody, you can't let your ego get so much to the point if you got your crew with you that you trust, your team that you trust, telling you, man, I don't think you should try something. Now, unless it's something that you've done and you know you can do it, you've done, that's different. But if it's something that you've never done before, and you got somebody in your team saying, man, I don't, you might want to check that ego for a second and really think about it, because if you got the right team,
So
which they only
so
say
listening to your team is right. Listening to your team is very
You gotta,
important because they're going to keep you,
gotta
keep you
listen.
safe. They're going to bring you home.
Yeah.
They're going to bring
What
you,
I tell
bring
you,
you back safe.
but
They got
that's what
your,
I tell y'all every time though. I tell y'all every time we go out, we going in the woods like we going in the club. We come together, we leaving together. You know, that's how you supposed to roll. You know what I'm saying? 10 toes, 10 fingers. You know, it's supposed to be an experience. You know, we ain't trying to end up like wrong turn out there, Jones. You know, so out there, in the boonies, and we gotta it gotta be, like what I love about y'all is y'all passion for it. You know, when we be out there, and just to see y'all, it's, the way y'all be, blowing through, doing what y'all be doing, I just be sitting back like I said, man, them dudes be getting it. You know what I'm saying? It just be a pleasure to be even doing it, so
Man,
I
but
just
I
feel
can
like
tell
my
you why,
role is
and
to,
I'm sure all of us probably feel this way. I ain't gonna say I'm sure, I know we all do, because I mean, we I can't speak for everybody in the herping world, but from what I see, even now, I think it's a blessing when I see a lot of people who are able to take their kids in and everywhere. And us, we from all three of us, we're from an urban environment. We from the city. I'm just saying, we from the city. It's a lot of stuff we always wanted to do
right.
growing up that we really couldn't do. You get what I'm saying?
we
So
didn't
now
have
that we
nobody to
older,
know the, right.
we didn't have, our folks didn't have the means or the knowledge. You get what I'm saying? Like, now I've spoken, like, I don't know too much about Ray. I raised parents, but I've spoken to Chris, like, no, Chris, you kind of told me like your parents kind of did what I mean, like my mother kind of did, but she ain't know nothing about reptiles. You know what I mean? So it's like now that we older, it's like that kid in us, you know what I mean, that was in that city,
Oh, I was
Baltimore,
telling,
DC,
It
whatever,
woke up.
and we can go wherever we
Yeah.
want to go
I
now.
was telling
You know what I'm
somebody
saying?
about that. I was working at Expo with Rick Saturday out Manassas, right?
Yeah.
And I was telling the kid that I was like, but I'll be honest with you, like in my household, you know, my grandmother fostered my love for reptiles because she figured, let him do his thing to keep him out the streets, to keep it real. So I've always had, whether it was fish, or snakes or turtles and stuff like that, my grandmother always encouraged me, to chase my passion. So, even as a young buck, like I told someone, I said, I felt I ain't have a pet the whole time I was really in the army. Besides the dog, I felt naked because my whole life I always had something, and
Yeah.
it's like I'll tell you, shout out to Charles England. When I joined Bro back in 2019. Yeah, that was 2019. I joined Bro and I seen a bull snake. It was something. And me and Chris, man, you was just talking about how, before the internet, we used to have to go to, local libraries and, and find books on, animals and read up
Libraries,
on them.
definitely.
Man, we was pre-internet babies, so we,
Encyclopedias,
yes.
That's
So
all
when
I
we
checked
really
out.
wanted,
That's all I checked out at the library
yeah,
growing up. I wish my mother
we
was
had to
on
do
this
a
man.
lot
side.
of
She
leg
would
work.
tell you.
A lot of leg work.
Hey, Chris, this the mother to your boy.
Okay.
Hey
Yeah,
Ray,
this her
your
right
boy in
here.
the
That's
comments,
all
he said what's up.
right.
Your boy Stafford
You
in the
say what?
comments. Well, he said what's up to everybody, but
Hey man,
your boy
Stav, what's
Stafford
happening,
in the
Stav?
comments.
AKA
What's
Blue
up,
Roach.
son?
If you know, you know.
But so I'm gonna give my let me give my answer before we get too much off track. So my two things would be, this is something I didn't think about. Well, I didn't know about and think about till later. So as far as the item to take with you, if this is good if you're herping in the area that's with a lot of ticks. Of course, you want to cover yourself up, as much as you can. But one hack that was told to us, I think 2 years ago, and we tried it and it works. It works great. There's one spot we go to here. It's known for ticks. The later on during like the summer season, they get really, really bad. What you want to do is you want to take some tape, duct tape, masking tape works good, and tape it around your ankles. All right, how can I put this? All right. Say the same way that you would tape like your pants around the pants, the pants leg at the bottom to your shoes or to your boots. You want to do the same thing, but do it inside out. So where the sticky part is on the outside, because a lot of times, you don't really, ticks can drop down off of trees, but most of the ticks you're gonna really encounter are coming from down the grass below. When I say we tried that and we did that, and when we got back to the car, even as you walk, you look down to be on there, but they'll stick to that tape. You'll be good, Joe, and just unwrap that tape. You're gonna catch well over 90% of the ticks. So that's a good item to take in places that have ticks.
You catch 90% of the ticks, but you still want to check when you get back home, or at least when you get to the car. Definitely.
I'm about to say, before you get in the car, be like, hey, turn around. I'm gonna pick them off for you. You turn around. So definitely, man. That ain't no lie.
That's what we used to do in the army. We had a tick tent. You had to go in the tick tent. And they take the flashlight, make sure you ain't got nothing in your crevices. But that's another story for another day. But now you talking about when we went out Southern Maryland? When we
Southern Maryland, that's the main place. Yes, sir.
Man, them Jones is plentiful out there. I ain't gonna hold you.
Nah, for real.
But
and the second thing,
maybe we in Southern Maryland in the spring or summer, there could be ticks everywhere.
But and I'll say the second part of my question, as far as the crew or the team goes, I'm trying. I don't want to say what y'all said, so let me think. Was something needed in the crew or team?
Jeremy said he had a tick on him last time.
I'm gonna tell you right here, right now. Listen, it's a joke, but it's half true. Make sure your crew meet your mama. If your crew meet your mama, they gonna make sure nothing happens to you. Because that they done met your mother. You know what I mean? Ray, you met my mother. Chris met my mother. Matthew met my mother. Right. How you gonna let something happen to me after you done met my mother and you gotta go and tell? Listen, think about that. Am I lying though? How you gonna tell?
No, how you gonna tell
I was out with y'all? How you gonna tell I was out with y'all? And you let this happen to me?
I tell,
if your mom hear you out with us, she know you in good hands.
I'm like man at 300.
All to the side, I feel like though. I mean, if I gotta be honest, and this ain't no bull crap, I'd rather go out with people that I genuinely trust. That's why I tell people this is in the hobby in general. I don't really be wanting to link up or hang with people just because. And I told you, I done turned down people saying, "Hey, I introduce you to such and such." I look on, this person got 50,000 followers, a million followers. I don't care about none of that. I want to hang with and deal with people who I genuinely bond with, because one thing about going out herping, it's people that I truly trust and I truly know got my back. And that almost goes back to what I was saying about the alligator situation. Like how I wasn't like, man, screw that, I'm gonna be the first one out of here, because I genuinely care about the people I was with. You get what I'm saying? So it's the same way, vice versa. So I think that's really important, Like, I mean, it all depends on what you're getting this for. For me, it's the passion, but it's all around. The passion of what we're doing, the passion of the people that I'm hanging with. Like the genuine
love, the passion, and safety. So it's even times when we have a new person with us, and Ray kind of rub off on us. We're actually looking over the new person to make sure they're safe. You know, make sure they don't
that's
grab
true.
something that's venomous,
We
or
get that
make
from
sure they don't
you.
enter a waterway with crocodiles or something like that. You know.
But you know what's
Yeah.
true? What's true about that? As you just said, he rub off on us and how we. And it's crazy because it does rub off on us, right? And we don't do none of that on purpose. But think about everybody that come rock with us for the first time. They feel that. You get what I'm saying? Dude Malik that was with us down in Florida, like off the break. You know, man, he done met a new family. Shorty,
Right.
T, I can't remember her name. The spider chick. Like she really enjoyed, even though we had to get in her, getting her behind a little bit for that scorpion situation, but like she understood, you know what I mean? But she really enjoyed, like, yeah, because we
But
genuine
that's the
people, yo, and that's one thing
passion.
we're gonna have with you.
But that's the passion. Like that be like when I'm speaking into existence because God be screaming Florida and going on Florida is on my bucket list. But I want to go to the Midwest. I want to go see some bull snakes in the wild. That's what I want to do. And they got rattlesnakes and everything else that everybody like. But I
Oh
want
yeah,
to, like you
we
say,
going
I
there.
want to
So
go see
listen,
the.
I already said so. This year, Florida, that's hard to say. It's gonna take you about 5 trips to get your Florida fix. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Because it's so much to see.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna spend a month down there. But
yeah,
I've been saying like next year I definitely want to get to I was saying the West Coast because I want to see all that they got over
yeah.
there in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, but Midwest too.
Oh
So you know what I
man,
mean? So we're gonna hit all that. We're gonna hit all that.
I
So one
got
thing
a
about the
friend.
Midwest,
I
they
got
have
a
a lot
friend.
of different rattlesnakes. They have a lot of different rattlesnakes, a lot
Yeah,
of different colubrids, which is up Ray
Mhm.
Alley. You know, um, it's something different.
that's like I tell people all the time when they find out that I have snakes and stuff. First thing they say is, "Oh, you got a retic, you got a python or a Burmese." I say, "Nah." I think, and this is me being totally biased, and I tell people this at Reptile Expos. I say, if you're looking for a snake that's damn near indestructible, that gets a decent size but doesn't need,
That ain't biased.
crazy
That
amount
ain't
of
biased.
a crazy
That ain't
a
biased.
crazy amount of space. Get you a bull snake. If you want
No,
something that's
but
gonna
but
move and
that's not biased though, bro. Like you saying that because that's your love. That's not biased. Like I'll
oh,
be
that's my
honest,
pass.
everything you named
So I
at
mean,
first was like
all that is
the
actually
common
true.
stuff.
But bull snakes,
Yeah, but
they're real
that's
hardy
what I'm
snake
saying.
also.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to say. That's why it's not biased. Like all
Yeah,
colubrids damn near are way more hardier than every python or boa you can think of.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying? But
they're
that's
more
partially
forgiving if
because most of
everything's
them
not
from North
perfect.
America.
Yeah,
Most of them from
yep,
North America.
yeah.
So it's like the environment is naturally, you know what I mean, what it's supposed to be anyway. But
Right.
that's not biased, bro.
hmm
That's the truth.
I'm. I be sometimes I be having to feel like I got to fight for my love when it comes to the colubrids, man, because some
Oh,
damn
but
people be
you got
overlooking
you
them
got to
because
do that. Ain't no
they
feeling.
were.
You got to. You got to do that. That ain't no feeling.
But I gotta fight.
Hold on.
I gotta fight. That's why, like, I wish I could bring my big Ocean County, New Jersey pine out. He in shed right now, but Slim every bit of 6.5, 7 feet, and he's impressive. It's like, he got that black and white. I call him Reggie Noble. That's his name, man. And
Yeah.
and and like when you look at him, you be like, "Oh," and it's something different, from the berms and the retics and stuff like that, So I just feel like, I always been with the underdogs, so I feel like, sometimes colubrids are slept on, especially bull snakes, and like all the different morphs that come with these Jones. It's a lot of different morphs. Like you got your, I ain't gonna say as many as your ball pythons and stuff, but it's a lot of more. It's like the clutch of those two that I showed y'all earlier, man. I had white sides and albinos and red albinos
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a snow,
hmm
and some red hypos. I just people if they dip into the bull snake culture, they really see that it's a lot of stuff out there that's comparable, if not look better than a lot of that other stuff out there. It's just it's not exotic, I guess. People it's not exotic enough. They like I keep all my stuff at
I
room
ain't even
temperature.
gonna say it's not exotic. It ain't. It's not what the community is saying is popular right now. You know what I'm saying? That's like
right.
anything. That's
So as
compare
we
that
all
to
know,
the music industry. No, go ahead.
as you know right now, basically everything, especially when you go to shows, it's basically a ball python fest.
That's
So
it.
you know it's ridiculous. So everybody
Yeah.
do a lot of times like the same thing.
Right. Man.
We got
Make
some
Columbus great
stuff in the
again.
comments.
That's what we need to do.
We got some stuff in the comments, y'all. Let me see. Stanford, he got two of them. He said he going to Michigan in June. Do they got snakes out? They got snakes out there, but not like that. I can hook you up with somebody to do Reggie if you're gonna be close to him. And then he said he got tour stops in Denver. He going where you with in the West. He said he got tour stops in Denver, Phoenix, and Texas. Man, there's snakes all up and down there, yo. Shoot.
Yeah, that's where
Denver,
they
Phoenix,
at.
and Texas. That's where they at.
I'm gonna say that, like, man, Chris, when we was talking, I
I'm
said,
ready.
man,
I'm ready to hit some different spots.
yeah. Chris, remember when I was we were talking about, I said, yeah, that's my first time seeing a rattler. Then my memory kicked in. Man, the biggest rattler I ever seen was down in on Fort Hood, out there in the woods, in the back brush. And that rattler was big as hell. And all that shit was
Was
the
it a
back end of
Diamondback?
that jump. Yeah, it definitely was a Diamondback.
Okay, so most likely it's probably a Diamondback, probably.
Yeah,
They
that joke
said we
was
got
huge.
the
Yeah.
countdown soon. Two things I do want to
Okay.
say safety wise though, since we talked about safety before we go. One huge thing, and I didn't know about this myself until about 2-3 years ago. When you are, I'll say anyway, because almost everywhere has probably a venomous snake. But when you're in a place where you know venomous snakes are, when you're flipping tin, flipping wood, flipping logs or whatever, it
Put
is
that shit on the hook.
best to use a hook when you're flipping these things. I'm trying to tell you now, it's never happened to us, but it has
And
happened to
also,
people. You could think when you're going to flip something, you're flipping it
so
in the blind.
also when you're using a hook,
Yeah, what you say?
no, so,
I thought
I
you
was
said
about to say, when you're using a hook, you use a hook, but also you flip it away from you, not towards you.
that actually is best to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely,
Absolutely.
like, you want to use a hook when you're flipping, especially when you're in a place where you know venomous animals are abundant. You want to use a hook because flipping with your hand, I mean, the odds are in your favor. I'll be honest, but at the same time, there is still that chance that if you go to flip and there's a snake right
You're
there on the other
eventually gonna
side
get
that you
tagged
cannot
on
see,
your hand.
it'll bite you.
And
And the second thing I was going to say,
that's when
and
I
the
jump in
second
and
thing I was
say,
going to
"What are
say,
you doing?"
yeah, right.
That's what the conversation is like. Hey, what are you doing, man? Hey,
But the
look, man,
second
can I
thing I
get
was
it
going
quick?
to say,
But see,
if you are somebody that wants to handle everything that you find and come across in the wild, if you're a grown up, do what you want to do. I'm not going to tell nobody what to or what not to do, but I wouldn't suggest ever free handling anything. Is it possible? Yes, but I will also say that's another reason for that hook. Use that hook if you're gonna handle
it's
something,
not worth the risk.
especially venomous. Use the
It ain't
hook.
worth
It's just not
exactly.
worth it. I mean, and I won't say no names, but
Don't do
we
it.
all know in the last year or two we've lost. Well, I ain't gonna say we, but the hobby has lost
Don't
people who are
do it.
very known, well known, people who have been doing this for decades at the highest, most professional level, and they've lost their lives because they wanted to freehand something venomous for the 10,000th time because they've done it 9,999 times before nothing's happened. It's
And
just not worth it. So,
99,000.
in my opinion, it's never worth free handling something that's venomous, especially in the wild. And even like me and Chris were talking about last week, even
Right.
with the rattlesnake, they've never really tried to strike at us, and that's cool and all. But at the same time, it's just not worth the risk.
You
Why
keep that
risk it?
match.
That's the last
You
thing I
still
want to
got to
do.
know. You still got to know
That
your animal. You know.
y'all keep that
Also,
match.
wherever you go at, you need to do your homework before you go there. You need to know what animals are in that location normally.
Yeah.
And do their homework. So,
Hey,
True
look,
that. True that.
I'm not touching none of that.
I think
And you ain't
we only got
it don't make you a sucker.
a few minutes left, though.
Look, it don't make you a sucker or a punk if you don't want to touch it. If you just want to see it from a
At
distance or
all.
see it up
They
close,
don't.
hey, by all means,
They
because
don't.
guess who does that? Because I'll be like, oh,
Listen,
okay, all right, and
don't make
it's
you a
just
sucker or punk at all, man.
yeah, it's just the experience, of seeing it, and it's
Continue.
making core memories, man. Before we get off
Yeah.
there, man, y'all follow me at Capital City Constrictors,
Yep.
man, on IG and Facebook, man. Come check me out, man.
He
I
got
post a
he
lot
got
of my
some heat. He got some heat.
yeah,
He got some heat. So y'all do that.
yeah. Definitely come check
But
me out, man. I got a couple
Yeah,
of stuff.
definitely. Appreciate
I
you
got.
coming out too, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. When you invited me, I had to be here, man. This is normal conversation for us anyway, so it ain't like this.
Right.
Right.
This is easy.
But all right, everybody that's watching, appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all tune in again next week. Make sure y'all follow and find all three of us on here too. We appreciate y'all being here and thank you. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Want to show y'all how I appreciate you what you're watching. Definitely come back next week and a week after that. Follow our YouTubes, our personal YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow us on
We
Facebook.
bring that heat. We bring that
We
heat.
easily
Come on,
find.
man.
Just type in our names.
Yes, sir. But appreciate y'all.
Huh?
Appreciate the network. Show me reptiles. Appreciate it. I appreciate
They
everybody.
showing us love, and yeah, highly appreciate it. And until next time, DC Reptile Man,
Y'all have a
and
good night.
you got Quentin right here, Baltimore Snake Man. Until next time.
Y'all have a good night. We out.
All right.